and she's the professor, and I'm a master's degree counselor. Was.
You are. You still are.
Hello,
Hi, Wyatt.
hello, Wyatt.
But
He doesn't hear us yet. Okay. Go ahead, Erna. Sorry.
I was so aware that I wanted to be professor-like. She had all kinds of problems with health and her husband's health, and so she didn't prepare anything, even though we talked about it and in advance and all that. So I felt like I had to carry the whole thing, and so I got myself a podium. And even though I enjoy groups in a circle, and so you can see everybody and interact with them, it was like, look at this. What I couldn't get away from is from chiding myself.
Oh.
During and after, it's like, and here it says, just notice, just notice and be aware. So I think what was different was I observed myself at the same time while I was acting out of the ego,
Mm-hmm.
That's different.
Yeah. Does everybody here understand the word chiding?
No.
Chiding.
No.
Let's tell them what that means for you, Erna.
Scolding, scolding yourself.
Okay. Schimpfen. Scolding.
Schimpfen, yeah, schimpfen is a better word.
Okay, good. Schimpfen, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great. What you're saying is you've got a chance to watch the ego in action in two ways: all the preparation and the presentation of this role.
Yes.
And then you got a chance to watch all that judgment that went after you.
Mm-hmm.
But you were freed a little bit by the recognition that all you needed to do was watch it, that there was no judgment necessary. Yeah.
I didn't get there. I didn't quite get there.
Okay, did you think that maybe you could have done the atonement prayer?
Yeah.
I
didn't do it. That was...
When I get into that space, that's when I call on, because I know I'm getting tight. And then I do the atonement. I recognize that because you had the recognition. I recognize I'm going into over responsibility or role playing or something, and instead of trying to manage it, I make a quick atonement prayer, and let it go at that. Thank you. That's a beautiful share. And I want to say something else about, in response to Erna's share, is the depth of this group and the support in this group will come from sharing like Ernest just did. That's what this group grooves on. That's what makes this powerful, is that we're not presenting a perfect image or having it all together. We're not reporting all our successes. Miracles are important to report when we've had a shift in perception. But from my experience in the TTC group, that has been the difference between the other situations that I have joined, where there's been some kind of a guru presentation at the top, and people are kind of quiet listening, and then they think they should have it, or they want to have it already. there's no encouragement to just show up and be real. Or there isn't usually, or hasn't been. And I just had a report back from a friend of mine that went to Sedona to sit for 5 days, and with a very, lots of people gathered there, and lots of people. He's getting quite famous and so forth. And the people, as my friend was sitting there, she began to feel confused.
Mm-hmm.
And her confusion was, what's going on here? I feel like I'm all alone here in the midst of all of these people, and nobody's getting to know each other. Nobody's being who they are. They're all just like, being holy people. So finally she said she broke out and asked everybody. She said she was dying there because she's not used to that at all. No, she's my friend here, and what we do constantly is share, just the way Erna just shared, with each other openly and honestly. That's what has catapulted me forward, is the freedom and the trust to be with people who are on this path, who are sharing at that level and not trying to be perfect, already there, sannyasins on the spiritual path. So yeah, so this is why we gather together, is to share the real stuff, and know that there's not going to be any judgment, because guess what? We're all in the same boat. We're all here doing it, and we're waking up together. And the power of a group setting is, when one gets it, we all get it. So we all bring a different aspect of the separation or the fragmented mind, and we all hold it together, and it gets put back together. Let me take a second to welcome Wyatt. Hi, honey.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Ryan.
So some of us know Wyatt.
Yeah. Hi, Mickey. Hi, Regina.
I'm very Wyatt. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Hi, Wyatt.
Hi.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
I've sent Wyatt the videos, and I don't know if I sent you the atonement prayer yet or whatever, but we'll get you all caught up.
Okay.
Okay, who else would like to share?
I have something to share.
Okay.
A miracle, as a miracle. It happens more and more that I'm in. And I had a phone call with my sister. So she called up, and she is in so much fear about my mother's taking care in this the place for where she lives, in this senioren place for old ones. And so I didn't get into that as a normally I always went into, I wanted to fix something, but I'm really getting into the thing right now, that I'm very clear, and I can tell her and just see her as a love her as she is, and not going into this fearful thinking about money. I can say what I think about it, and then I can leave it all, and just told her that the important thing is that it's being taken care for my mother or our mother, and the very important thing is that she is taking care of herself. So, and today I even sent her the atonement prayer. She was open for that.
Wow.
And I got a chance again to talk to my mother. And I mean, all my life I hated my mother. And it's just coming out to tell her how much I love her now. And it had just happened again today. So that's what's changing. There is no more in these situations with family. It always was a big story or big stories behind. So if I talk to them, there is no more past and no future. I can just take them as well, or I don't know where they are right now. So that's for me, that's a very big. As I feel very grateful. As it's very, very, very changed a lot. So, and that was my biggest practice to do with all the family members, and I have a chance to really to really do what I've learned and what I practice, and with all my heart. So that's a big
You
step.
witnessed the miracle. That's beautiful.
The miracle, yeah. I think the miracle is really to let go of all the
Well, you forgave. That's
yeah,
you did the atonement prayer with them.
yeah, and forgiveness, which before already without, and if something is coming up, I really use the atonement prayer a lot. So that's very helpful.
Wow, that's huge, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's so neat how vulnerable my mother is. If I can talk to her in this way, that's never ever happened. So that's a good place. Yeah.
Regina or Judith, I think I don't say the atonement prayer often enough because I go through the long version. What's a short version of it? Is it just looking at the situation, forgiving it?
No.
No.
We'll go back through it, but once you get it, you can do it fast. I don't think there's any problem with doing the long version, because it until you've got it, so the first thing is in the atonement prayer is, I've created this. I created this situation. That's taking responsibility. Okay, so the situation, whatever it is that's arising, somehow has manifested. And the way I'm seeing it and perceiving it is my responsibility. Mm-hmm. Next is, I've projected onto some situation or person outside of me. I didn't want to see that I created this, so I used Billy Jones to be the problem. And I started to, so that's number 2, is I forgive myself, number 1, for having created this. Number 2, I forgive myself for having used a situation or another person to carry this projection. And then, Holy Spirit, I am so willing to have this all transformed. Help me. So that's the fast one. So once you, and also I realize that this is the 4th thing to be important. I realize that this created a separation between myself and God's love for me. We're going to go more into that guilt, the separation between myself and God's love, which I haven't emphasized yet later on today. But it's these 4. I created separation. I feel so bad inside myself, or this is a shadow, so I projected it outside. But I need to come back and see this belongs to me. Regina, you did this week with your guy upstairs. Really quick. You want to be unmuted?
Yeah, I do.
So listen to how Regina did this, Erna, and maybe because she has a real situation, and It's better coming.
I have upstairs a neighbor and his wife, and we are not so good friends. So, he's repairing his bathroom, and it's noisy, but that's okay.
It's noisy.
It's noisy, and he told us 2 weeks ago. So, and when I came home one day, I'm in my bathroom at the lavabo. There was no water coming, and I said, "Oh my God, I cannot talk to him upstairs, but I also have I need my water going here." And
Can I stop you just for a second?
yeah.
You really dislike this guy.
Yes, absolutely.
That isn't quite clear yet. You thought he reminded you of your father, and you hate.
Yeah, that's also true. That's true. Yeah, that's true. As he represents my father very often. Yeah, that's true. Okay. And then I said, okay, but I have to call him. I have to talk to him early in the morning. And then I was sitting here and I did the atonement prayer. And I did it 2 times. I said, okay, I do it with the situation to be to really have, can transform the situation and also the person. And then I called, and then I felt really good inside. All of a sudden, I felt good. And then I called him, and I was very friendly, and I said, "Good morning, Jürgen. So this and this happened." And he said, "Well, okay." Also, he was friendly, and that's. But the man who is doing the things here just came in. You can talk to him. So I talked to this man, and he said, "Well, it could be that it's all the dirt, the stones and everything is going through because they have to change the whole stuff inside where the water comes through." And then he said, "Well, you have to open this thing." And so I said, "Well, I cannot do that. I don't know. I don't have this thing." So he said, "You want me to come down?" I said, "Oh, that would be nice." So he came and did it, and he said, "Well, if something happens again, you can call me when I'm here." So that was, it was pretty good.
So you used the atonement prayer twice for the hatred that you had towards this man, and for the whole story you had about all this noise that was happening upstairs.
Yeah, and this situation to really talk to him, that I'm really able to talk to him.
Yeah.
With as much as possible with my heart, and not not reacting or something like that.
So that's good. That's good. And then what you noticed was that energy in you was lifted, and you were at peace.
Yeah.
And then you could go ahead and take care of the phone call, and the blocked pipe was freed up.
And the interesting thing, the noise I expected was not so loud, and it was not terrible. So that's the other part. I was really sometimes, that's pretty smooth here. So that's the whole thing, the whole story I made up in my mind shifted.
So does that help, Erna?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay. Mickey.
So, Regina, would you mind going through really quickly the wording that you use? Oh, Regina's muted. Okay.
Showing you the handout.
Oh, okay.
As I use this one.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Shall I read it or? Okay. So in this case, I say, Holy Spirit, I bring this situation with I was explaining with the lavabo and everything there with the water. To you, that is a problem for me. And I also did it the second time with the person, Jürgen.
Right.
I do not know how to release this suffering from my experience. And so I ask you to transform my perception of this problem and heal the guilt or fear that is present in my mind so that I might be at peace again and in the truth of your love for me. I understand that it is my trust in you that brings about the most visible healing, and that it is my mind that is creating this perception through a projection from my unconscious guilt and fear of your love for me. I understand that you have never ever touched me or seen me in any way but innocent and as your child made in your likeness and image. Holy Spirit, please help me to completely trust you and all the love and healing that is being offered me through this atonement prayer. Amen. Yeah. So
does everybody have that copy? Wyatt, did you get that copy?
So, yeah.
Would you send Wyatt a copy of that, Regina?
yeah, Gabriele was writing it so it's bigger than the one you sent. I can do that.
Good. Does everybody have that? Thank you, Gabriela. Does everybody have a copy of that one? That prayer? Okay. Thank you. Is that good for you, Mickey? Okay.
That I was, so I have it, but I thought you had to like reword it in a way that would have more meaning for you. I don't know. I was making it more complicated than I needed to be.
So, you know, Mickey, that's one of the ego defenses. So you can know that that's the way the ego tricks you.
Right.
I sometimes even in my work in the praxis I do it in my own words. If there is something, I go to the bathroom quickly and then I really do it in my words. And then then I can go back out and so that I'm back in my
Vertical.
vertical.
In alignment with.
Yeah, right, and that really helps a lot.
Right.
And if I'm forgetting it, it's so I have to remember it. But it's beautiful. It works.
Right. I think if one does it more with the paper, you start figuring out how to do it in your own words.
Mm-hmm.
And so my ego has been blocking me from doing it more, I think.
Make it complicated.
What the right situation is to do it, and noticing when I could apply it. My ego is having a lot of resistance to this. It really is. And deep down I really understand it, and I am totally willing to participate, but in the day-to-day operation of it, I find all these, walls going up.
Mickey, take what you're just talking about and put this into that prayer.
Right.
Start right where you're at, and it will be transformed.
Right.
It's so easy. It's so easy. It's so simple. And
I mean, it got to the point where I copied the atonement prayer and pasted it into a Word document and tried to print it out, and all I could get was blank paper. So then it gets even worse. Then I put two documents side by side and I retyped it into a new document. And oh geez, I'm not going to answer the door. And my printer started acting pokey and would only print out in this very pale green. And it just got worse and worse. So finally I fixed my printer. So I'm going to...
Holy Spirit, we would like to offer this situation that Mickey is in right now to you to transform the obstruction in her background. We offer this to you, Holy Spirit, in this instant, and we ask for the transformation.
I have kids at my door. Hang on one second.
I'm going to put you on mute. Oh, she did. Gabriella, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to tell Mickey, that I find myself talking to the Holy Spirit without the atonement prayer. It's like having a conversation, whenever something comes into my mind. And I think I had the same thing. I was really stuck on the prayer, and finally I found out, hey, I can talk to him, not only using the prayer, but just talking to him as a friend and say, hey, you know what? It's like this and that. And so that's what I wanted to tell Mickey, Mickey, you don't have to look for words. You just start to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I do now, because I don't always have the atonement prayer with me.
Right.
So you just say what you want to say. You just tell what you want to tell. And you use your own words. You don't have to think about it, how it sounds or whether the words are very sophisticated or whatever.
There are times when I just say, oh, Holy Spirit, please help me with this situation. And that's all I say. And, I trust that the Holy Spirit knows the atonement prayer and can fill in the rest. But I would like for I would like to learn it a little bit better. But I resist, and it'll come.
This is great. Anybody else want to share? Connie.
So I do the atomic prayer often, and the last days for me it's always the problem to stop this ego attacks. Yes, I feel now I in the attack and created myself some situations or be stressed about things that's not stressed, that's the life. And I feel so pushed from the ego to, I have the feeling I must do this, to run, to plan, to go there, don't sit and relax and have time to enjoy what you have done, or to say, yes, I love me and it's all okay. I always have the feeling I must do more. And then I give this to the Holy Spirit. And yes, it comes quickly back, and then I give it again to the Holy Spirit. So yes, it's not easy. And I often have the last days points where I feel very stressed, and I go over my what is the word for?
Yeah, you go over your energy or your.
Go over my energy, and then I fall in a little hole, and then 15 minutes and then, oh, okay, I have to do this, and it goes again.
Connie,
So-
what are you afraid of? If you didn't do everything, what would happen? See if you can look at that. What are you trying to manage or control that keeps you?
I can give you an answer to this question, but I feel that I was afraid of something, or you ran away from me.
Let's just be with you here, okay? So what you're describing is a running away, an escape from something fearful, right? Something scared. When we get scared, yeah. So I would like for us to all join and hold right now to join in our one mind, in our Christ mind. And what we do is we just all go into the mind, the one mind, and rest there. And you'll get it because you'll feel it. So we'll just take Connie and this fear with us because it belongs to all of us. And just rest and see. Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm trying to cut down the noise in my computer. It's very loud today. Can you all hear the noise coming from my computer? Okay. So we didn't try and fix you, did we? But what we're doing is we're recognizing that there's no separation here. What Connie is bringing, just like what everybody's bringing, belongs to all of us. There's a fear that we all share. We don't know what it is yet. It's still unconscious. But by joining and bringing it to that one mind, it's held. It's held in the light. And you know, we did that video last week where we had the light and we had the black. And then Nook talked about if you go into a very, very dark room and you can't see anything, and as soon as you turn the light on, the darkness is gone. And that's what we're doing when we're joining. We're bringing the light into that place. So there can't be darkness there. And we'll see what happens next. We don't know. And we don't need to know. It's all done. Do you have any questions, Wyatt?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, so what we're talking about is the ego interference in our lives, and we're beginning to recognize, we can smell it now. And it's not you, right? The ego, it's one mind. That ego is a one mind, and it's not a true mind, but it's one mind on this planet Earth. And it's very destructive, as you could see. It's always creating. It's creating an experience that seduces you first away and then drops you, kind of like a lover that, you know, what do you call that? Not a real lover, but you know, someone that doesn't really love you but uses you. And the ego is a user, uses us and gets us to trust it with some kind of a sense of giving us security or happiness. Or I made a list here to so we've gone over this several times. First of all, it has to do with avoiding God's love. That's the basis of the ego. It's to avoid the truth, to avoid love, to avoid who we really are. See, God's love is who I really am, and who we are all God's love. We are all manifestations of this incredibly powerful being, no matter what name you call it. And it's some of the things that can describe who we really are is we're love, unconditional love. We're joy. We have a joy that is, you know, incredible. If you get people together who are on this path and they're doing this, they get so happy that sometimes other people feel threatened because they're laughing so much and they're so happy. There's a peace in this true place. There's so much peace here. And there's strength. There's a strength that has nothing to do with power over. It has nothing to do with dominating. There's health. You'll notice that the more you the more realization that occurs on this path, from my experiences, my health improves. It's incredible. It's like, whoa. So, and there's a gentleness about this. Along with the strength and all, there's a gentleness in this I am self, this Christ self, this loving being, this Buddha nature, this great mother. So this would never force itself on you. If you said, no, I'm not ready to do that practice, it's always just a gentle invitation. There's no coercion. Do you know that word? No forcing. No effort asked. Don't effort. There's no suffering involved. There are no lessons to be learned. No lessons to be learned. You don't have to suffer and sacrifice. You don't have to do hours of practice. You just have to practice constantly. You got that or not? So, yeah, the ego is about a special relationship. You've heard me talk about the special relationship. The ego always wants to be special. And the signs of that, you know, it will do anything to gain recognition or status or fame, to manifest material possessions. It can come in all sorts of ways, but what it does is it's a flattering of the false self. It's a flattering of the role, the ego role, the false self. And it supplies a fix temporarily. You know, we'll say, well, I got that done. I got that PhD, or I got the new house, or I lost 50 pounds, or whatever the ego has seduced you into. And then you'll notice you can only spend a certain amount of time before there's a new desire arising. What you just had wasn't enough. The ego wants more. It's hungry. So no matter what you've done to satisfy that ego, it will give you a little reprieve, a little pleasure, and then all of a sudden it wants something more. It's like, now I got to do this, or now I made this many millions of dollars, but now I want to buy that island over there. So I need more. So the ego always needs something else, and it always wants more for this false self. You'll never feel satisfied with what you're doing or how you're doing it. There's not ease. It's like Erna said, she prepared and she did this meeting, but then the ego went after her. It will find whatever it can to bring you back into suffering. So I made this list: ego cravings, intellectual strivings, when the focus is on security, on health, on being independent, not needing anybody or anything, on being right. The ego loves to be right. And often you'll say, would I rather be right or be peaceful? When you catch that one. The ego is always hiding its fearful underpinning. It doesn't want you to see what's really going on. And it denies any insecurity, any sense of lack, like I don't feel so good today, or I'm a mess. It wouldn't report that to the public. It would pretend it was okay. It looks to the world to make it feel good. If I can just have one more thing, if I can just accomplish one more thing, if I can achieve one more thing, then I'll get it. So what I want to move our focus onto today is to move away from the focus on the ego now and move into the beginning of a beautiful practice. And this is the basis of the Course in Miracles, is not, the Course in Miracles doesn't isolate and say, go off into a mountain cave and sit on a cushion and meditate. Instead of that, the Course in Miracles says, get into relationship. Look at every single relationship you have in your life. And that is where I will be. That is where you will find the miracles unfolding. So it's a whole different sharing than I had before. And trusting this is the key. To trust that this particular practice is really powerful, and the only way you can trust it is by doing it and seeing what happens in your life. So, excuse me, I need to open that front door. So I gave you guys a handout about holy relationship this week. Do you remember getting that handout? And I wanted to begin to introduce it as a practice. We all have special relationships with people and with our false self. Let me begin there. You know, the total focus of our entire concentration is about me up to this point. What about me? What will I get out of this? How much am I going to have to pay for it? Do I have enough time for this? All of these things come forth. So we all know special relationships with either ourself and how much suffering is there, or some of us have, maybe a few of us, or maybe it's not just me, have had relationships with partners that have been wicked, you know, so full of craziness, and that looked like love in the beginning and looked like amazing, you know, heart-filled relationships. And then all of a sudden they turned on us at some point. They disappointed us deeply. It turned out that they failed us. Well, who did they fail? They failed the special relationship needs. Wyatt and I have had a few extremely awesome conversations around this. So anything that comes to you, Wyatt, just unmute, mute. So I've had my own version of that. And does anybody else know about these codependent relationships that turn from love into hate? And all of a sudden you're stuck because you signed some kind of a contract with this person, or you somehow you feel trapped. All of a sudden you feel trapped. Something traps you in there. And so it goes from good to bad in a second. It usually takes about 6 months before that happens, as in my case. And for me, I haven't been able to get out of them once I've been in them. Let's just say it's a marriage. You know, some of us, 3 of us have been married. Erna, myself, and Regina. Or let's take a committed relationship. You know, I think they're pretty close. But I know one of the things that was very entrapping for me was the rules of the Catholic Church. Because I knew very early that this was not a loving relationship. And there was no, I trapped myself. Notice my language is changing. There's no projection. I trapped myself with those rules, and I trapped myself with all of my projections of what I thought it should be, what my mind wanted marriage to be, and what I thought love should be. And what I thought love should be was I would be special. I would be taken care of, and I would be special, and we'd have a lovely life and a beautiful home, and he would remember my birthday, and he wouldn't come home and say, sorry, I didn't get to the flower store in time and they were all closed. Or, you know, these things that you just drop inside because you want to be special to this person. You want this person to remember you, to think of you before anything else, to consider every consideration and include you in that consideration, that it be about me. Basically, that's what a special relationship is. And I had 2 of them, well, I had a lot more than two, but two with men. And in both places, the trick was there was no way to win, because in that relationship, the suffering and the judgments towards myself in my own mind became worse and worse. Is anybody here on the same page with me? It's toxic. It becomes so toxic that, you know, I wouldn't have any confidence after a while about any area of my life. You know, from the way I looked, to my sexual behavior, to my way of being a mother, to anything. So everything in that special relationship that I was looking for turned against me, and I didn't know about a holy relationship. All I had ever seen in the movies and in books and heard about was special relationships where you fall in love and live happily ever after. I mean, you know, and if you weren't falling in love, then you had to do something to change the way you looked, or some behavior that you had. You had to improve, and then you would be loved. So everything is dependent on this kind of toxicity. Well, now the holy relationship is what the Course in Miracles is, what Jesus came through in the Course in Miracles with. And it's to take every special relationship in your life and have the intention of bringing them into a holy relationship. Okay, this is not easy to do. But I want to just show you the holy relationship to begin with. So the holy relationship is has these 7 key principles. And what you can do is begin to have it with yourself. That's the first place. So just think of this as having a new relationship with yourself. Don't even think outside of that. Don't even think about anybody else in your life. Just, I am willing, so this is the first step. There needs to be a willingness to have every belief that I have about what I need and who I am undone. I have to have the willingness and the eagerness to be shown all unconscious blocks that obscure awareness of love's eternal and uninterruptible presence. To have all blocks removed. I have to say, I really want this, Holy Spirit. This means I need to be willing to face up to and confess, and that's what we've been doing, that of the ego. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. All I know is about the ego. I don't know anything about love. This is the beginning. Yet, by the Spirit in me, the truth can and will be revealed. So, I don't know about love. I don't really know what love is. I've been conditioned in a society of special relationship that is a predatory relationship that uses people and things to serve itself, just like an animal, you know, going to catch another animal to eat it because it needs to be fed, so it uses another animal. That's the predatory aspect of the special relationship. So when I say, the first thing is I thought I knew what love was, but all I knew was what a toxic relationship, how to create a toxic relationship before. So I want to be open, Holy Spirit, to your transforming this conditioning that I have received and taken in. And so that's the key, the first key principle. I'm willing to have this undone, all this conditioning about using people and using businesses or using drugs or using using anything to make me feel important or better about who I am. So anybody have any thoughts about this? Does anybody want to do this? Who's in? Who's willing? 1, 2, 3. Me too. Wow, I just felt a blast of energy. Did you all get that? Whew. Well, the Holy Spirit is right here. So our guide selves are totally happy about this. Okay, so the next, and this is fun. It gets very fun. It's hard, but it's fun. The next thing is accountability. So things probably will start to make sense as I go through this, some of the things I've said before. What does accountability mean? So I'm accountable to myself to recognize and accept that all my suffering is caused by one culprit, one thing, no matter how many varied forms it might take. So everything is caused by one thing. Honey, could you put your light on your computer up a little bit? Can you go down on your computer? Oh, okay. You're so, okay. Okay, you can come forward. I just thought you needed more light. Okay, so the culprit is the ego in our own unconscious self-hatred. Now, that's the first time we've heard that word self-hatred here. But I assure you, it's not unknown to each one of us. So the ego has built itself on self-hatred, projected it outward onto others or onto our body and the world to manifest as attack. And then some other words are conflict, betrayal, abandonment, sickness, pain, scarcity, and death. Do you have your copy of this, Connie? Did you get a copy in an email? Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of words in here, and let me know from the German point of view if there's any word there that you don't understand. So it's to manifest attack. You understand how you feel when the ego has attacked you. You all know that now. And some of the forms of that attack are to have conflict with somebody, to feel, or with yourself, to feel betrayal, to feel abandoned by a situation or by somebody. And here's an interesting one, to get sick. To get sick is an attack from the ego. That means it's not real. But we think it's real. Pain, and Gabriella and I talked about this a little bit, but when you have pain in your body, that's an attack from the ego. It's an ego attack. When you have the thought, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough energy, I'm getting old, I'm getting whatever. Whatever I don't have enough education, I don't have enough, whatever it is, that's a scarcity thought, and that's coming from the ego. The last one is death. Death belongs to the ego. It is a thought system that comes from the ego mind. And it has created this world of suffering because all we're doing is avoiding what we think is the end of our special self. Death. And we all believe in it. Every one of us has been, bought hook, line, and sinker that death is real, that we all need to die. Well, this belongs to the ego. I don't expect you to get this today, but we're going to go further into that. So accountability accepts that others, the body, the past, and the world are all without any, it says, are all causeless. They are not the cause of any of this. There is nobody that is causing me suffering. In other words, my body is not turning against me when it's sick or when it's overweight or when it doesn't have enough energy. That is not, my body does not have a mind to do that. We accept that the past doesn't have any effect on me when I'm clear. Unless I use it, it can't cause me any harm anymore. Unless I pull some memory from the past up and start to chew on it and suck on it and make a whole story out of it, it has no influence to cause me suffering. So we look at this and we say, the primary underlying cause lays within my own mind. So this is the bottom line. My mind is the cause of what I'm experiencing right now. There is nobody out there to do this to me. It's all a mind job. This is what awakening is. So don't expect yourself to even understand some of this today, but this will be holding ourselves accountable. We'll get to a certain situation and we'll say, that person doesn't like me. I know that person doesn't like me. Every time I blah, 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 that person, does this. And that's a very simple response. And what I'm asking you to do is to say, it has nothing to do with that person. The feeling that I just created belongs in my mind, and that's it. And that's where we can begin to look. So we take these situations and we say, I'm accountable for how shitty I feel today. I'm accountable. Not that woman that just gave me a dirty look. It looked real. The man upstairs who reminds me of my horrible father, he is not accountable for the way I feel and how afraid I am of the noise that's going to happen this week and how afraid I am to talk to him. I can use that. Regina and I had played with that this week. So that's where you begin the first step. You're willing, and then you say, oh boy, Holy Spirit, I need some help here because that person just looked really mean to me. That person just looks really horrible. They scare the shit out of me when they look at me. Help. I'm accountable because my mind just created all that fear. So this is a big, big step for anybody. It's huge. And that's why I'm saying just start with your relationship with yourself. You know, that car that just cut me off on the freeway and almost caused an accident is my I need to be accountable for it. What was I just thinking? I'm going to give you before I even, we won't get through this all today, by the way, but before I get further on, I'm going to give you a concrete example of how this goes. I was looking on Facebook one day, and of course, up came a picture of a mangled dog. And the story of the owner and what the owner had done to the dog, and the picture of all the dog's wounds and everything, and it totally fried me. I was just heartbroken, and I got angry that people put those pictures on Facebook and there's no warning, and all of a sudden you see that in front of you. And so I am willing to have go back to number one. I'm willing to have every belief and value undone by the Spirit. I'm willing to be wrong, and I'm eager to be shown all the unconscious blocks that obscure my awareness of love's eternal and uninterruptible presence. Well, I couldn't do that. So I brought it to my TTC group on Saturday, and I shared. Well, of course, I shared along with many, many other people who have this reaction to animal abuse. That's just one thing, right? And so what happened was Nook, who is the teacher, said, your mind created this experience. And of course, everything in me, Mickey, you can get this, everything in me resisted what she said. It was basically like, no, I'm not going there with you. How could that be? I see this every day. I see this sort of thing all the time. And then Nick said again, she said, because it arose in your mind, as on Facebook today, it is the creation of your mind. So all we're dealing with is this now moment and what arose in my mind. And because you believe this is possible, you don't believe in God's love. If your mind holds this picture of animal abuse, that it's a possibility, then you have just denied the truth that only love exists. I'm going, So I want to share, this is hard stuff. It's like, really? But I went back to the 7 key principles, and I said again, I am willing to have every single belief transformed, Holy Spirit, but I don't know how to do that one. And then Nook said, what do you think, what do you think in your life supports this belief in this kind of abuse? And I said, well, my childhood and all the violence in my family, and my father attacking my brothers and never knowing when he was going to violently switch into this narcissistic rage. What's the difference between that and World War II? You know, as a child, when we grow up in these, it's like we are traumatized as children. And so as I have taken that with me, right? And in my mind, abuse exists, violence exists still, and trauma exists. So I said that it must be from my childhood, you know? It's like, oh, you know, I was conditioned by this violence. I was born into this kind of trauma. So I took the atonement prayer to the Holy Spirit. Now I'm just working with these first two. I'm willing, and I'm also willing to be accountable now for creating this. And I'm not judging myself for holding this in my mind stream. This just happens to be in my mind stream. And I can see why it is now. I can see why I believe in this kind of situation. So I brought this to the Holy Spirit. I did the atonement prayer, having no idea what would happen. And the next morning, I opened up Facebook. And there is a story of a baby donkey who was badly, maybe some of you have seen it, who was badly attacked by wild dogs. And there were bite marks, and the baby donkey's life was very endangered. And the mother donkey brought the baby donkey, maybe this was Costa Rica or somewhere, over to a group of workers. And the workers took the baby donkey and the mama together to a clinic. And for free of charge, everybody in the clinic worked night and day with this baby donkey, allowing the mama to be there with the donkey. And she understood that they were helping then. And every single wound was sewn up, and, you know, everything was cared for. And then they show the mother nursing the baby donkey and the baby donkey beginning to play, and all the love between the mother and the baby donkey happening. And what that showed me was my mind has been healed. That trauma, this makes me cry because this is why I want to share this with you guys, because it's so fast. What happens in this is so fast. The healing is so immediate. And this is what creates my trust and my desire to share every week, is that instantly I could feel that wound of my childhood and all that abuse and trauma was being cared for. And we could say the divine mother was holding me and holding the wounded little girl that went through all of that trauma. I especially share this with Erna today because we used to share like this all the time. So my tears are of gratitude. It's like gratitude that I can be real, that I can bring things that upset me to a safe place, and that I have some practice that's been given to me by Jesus, by the Holy Spirit to do, where I can be helped, where help is there, and complete, absolute healing is there. And so whatever was carried from the past, from my childhood, we could say, and probably from other lifetimes, now has found we call it, it's been exhumed, it's been lifted out of my mind stream. And what's been replaced is the truth. There's only God's love. And you will find it when you bring everything to God and stop trying to be independent and stop trying to take care of everything yourself. I'm talking to me, okay? To have enough guts to share with the group that you don't know how to heal this. This is me. I'm really upset. And also to share honestly that I don't believe what you're telling me today, teacher, Nook. I don't get this. I don't get that this isn't real. I'm completely 100% convinced that it is real, but I'm willing to bring this to the Holy Spirit. And that's all that was asked of me, is a little willingness to have it transformed. So within 12 hours, because I went to sleep that night, and as soon as I opened my computer in the morning, there was the beautiful story of this baby donkey and its mother. So this is being accountable for the blocks. So to go back here, it's being accountable and being willing to have everything questioned. Even if you don't think it's possible to have anything changed, even if you're 100% sure that this is real. Because what we'll learn later on is the world is an illusion. And we create what we see every moment by projecting on the screen of our mind something from our ego mind, something from our past. We project our experience forward. And once we say, "Are you sure that there's only love? Are you sure? How could that be possible?" And you say, "Well, I'm willing to have that. I'm willing to challenge the Holy Spirit with this and have this changed." And our whole journey is about moving into this 100% conversion to the truth, that only love is true, only love. And whatever else occurs that creates any suffering at all can be forgiven and brought to the Holy Spirit for transformation. And it will be done. Because only love is real. But I can tell you my story only to invite you in and say, we all raised our hand. It's like we'll meet these things that arise in our mind and we'll say, "I know this is true." At least, how could it not be true? I lived through that. And if you've ever done a hallucinatory drug, we can hallucinate many things. And don't go there, I just heard. Okay, so I want to stop right now and go back to the very last part of the accountability and then have you guys all share with me. So the last part of accountability is so once we say, "Okay, I'm willing to look at the singular source of all suffering and see it found in my own mind," that's being truly accountable. And when we do that, we are not to judge or blame ourselves, the body, anybody else for our unconscious attack. So we don't, like Erna said, we don't judge ourselves that we've done that. Instead, we learn to forgive ourselves for unknowingly using others, our body, the past, and the world for the purpose of attack and separation. And when I saw that thing on Facebook, that was an attack. That was an ego attack, attacking me. So it terrorized me. So I want to stop here because there's so much in these 7 key principles, and just ask you to jump on board one at a time and see if you're understanding what accountability means now. Erna.
What came to me was, how I said when I did the presentation, I tried to be perfect and prepare, and also gave myself a podium and all. But in this session, what came to me was in my childhood, I'm going to cry too.
That's
In my
okay.
childhood,
Yeah.
I had learned that if I'm quiet, not make any noise, or if I just be a good little girl and do everything right,
Mhm.
I might survive.
Mhm.
And so that ego attack, I never made the connection, though, until just now. That ego attack was all about, who do you think you are, talking in front of people and teaching them, as it were. Who do you think you are? You should be quiet. You should be in the audience rather than in front of the audience. And also the thing about it just escaped me. But the learning was so deep that it just, I really just worked out of that hurt from, or that harm.
Survival, you said. Your survival depended on this.
Yes. And the idea that I had to do it right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's dogged me all my life anyway. You have to do it right. And there's so much anxiety and fear attached to that. Sometimes I'm more aware of it than others, but
Oh, thank you. What are you feeling right now?
a little bit exposed.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yes, it's called transparency, and it's necessary. That's one of the steps here. You're being very vulnerable and transparent. Thank you for giving us this beautiful, beautiful you. Yeah. It's necessary to stop hiding. You're beautiful, Erna. In this moment. Truly. Does anybody else understand how Erna could be feeling exposed right now? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Who else would like to jump in? Are you understanding what accountability means? Connie.
I think yes, I can understand. It's for me with childhood. I think I often have the problem to decide to stay for me, and so that's I'm not true with me or the self. It's coming from my childhood. It's because I always try to do it right, to be seen, to be accepted, to be not forgot, not forgotten.
Yeah, not abandoned.
Yeah, all this, and this is what I see today when I do all these things and be
You got it.
in this trouble for me to don't make a fault, don't be not enough, don't all this, and this is coming from my childhood when I try to be good, to get the love. So I feel that I don't give me the love because my ego said to me, "You're not enough. You have to do more. You don't be the right. You don't be. Why do you this? And you have to control that you don't do a fault and all this." I feel the breathless, you know. So that's the meaning for me for this. I have this word. I haven't this word at the moment, but I think I can good understand what Anna say and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just. I apologize for having to get up just then. So what's happened is you're seeing the fear that
yes,
is running all of that activity, and do you understand? And you're understanding that you are accountable for the fear, but also that it was formed in your childhood, and
yes,
and so you can see how you keep using that same fear to motivate yourself. That things look like they always need to be done.
yes. I think I was P2. I have to sit in this fear and wait that it's gone. But I'm not. I have sometimes not the courage to sit in and wait.
Just give this now to the Holy Spirit.
Yes,
This is it. Just be willing. Don't worry about being courageous today. Just say, I see that I keep creating this fear. Now I know where it came from. I'm willing to have this transformed, Holy Spirit. Do you see how you just gave yourself another job to sit in the fear? You just made it harder.
okay.
Okay,
Hmm?
so I'm
I see
taking
it.
that away.
Thank you.
I'm taking that away. You don't need to do that. Just, we haven't gone through all the 7 principles, but just with this one, just say, okay, I can see how I create this. And I don't judge myself. It's okay. I can see why it happens. And now I'm willing to have this all transformed, Holy Spirit. Now it's not your job. You're not responsible now any longer. If you find yourself being, running around doing everything, you just say, oh, I already gave this to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit must be doing something. I don't know what, but I'm not responsible for this anymore. It's being transformed. Yeah. 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 So it doesn't even matter what it looks like to your mind. You will see. Sometimes I remind myself that I gave it to the Holy Spirit. And okay, because this may have different layers to it. This may be the Holy Spirit may take you over here and then over here, and finally it will be undone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you okay, Connie? Okay. Who else wants to get on board? Gabriella.
So I think I do have very much resemblance with Ernest's childhood, being the good girl all the time. So I know Connie and Regina, they know these stories. My mother had a very hard pregnancy when she was expecting me. And she was telling me already in the womb, so if you're going to cry, either what you're going to be, a boy or girl, I don't know what I'm going to do to you. It was a really nice little heavy baby, with little nice cheeks and everything. And I never cried. I was a really nice baby. I didn't give any trouble to my mother. And that's how I grew up. I've always been the good girl. So you better behave. You don't know what your mother is going to do. And this is kind of, it goes through my whole life. So you have, as Ernest said, you better should be down in the audience, but not standing up there talking. So that's how I went through school. That's how I went through training college. Even now, when my principal wants something to have, it's always like you don't speak up, you do what she wants to do. And during the last couple of weeks, colleagues of mine, they say, well, you changed. And this is what I've been working with the Atonement Prayer. I've been talking to Regina. I've been working with you. So there is a change in me. I do speak up now. Let's say I start speaking up now, I don't accept everything what people want me to do. I can say no. And, well, there is a change, but it almost took me 59 years to get to that point.
It's exciting, isn't it? To be transforming. Yeah,
it's exciting, and it's once in a while, it's like, what did I say? It's like, did I really say that? Or I told it to Regina, there is a supermarket in the next village, and they have been on reconstruction for the last 2 years. So the shop assistants are not very friendly. So in German, there is a saying, they go down to the basement to laugh. So it's like, they are not very friendly and everything, and you just get annoyed with them. And last week there was the shop, the shop manager, and he was there 6:30 in the evening, and he was kind of filling the shelves and everything. I said, well, at least you have got a smile on your face. And he said, excuse me? I said, well, you have a smile on your face. Your personal doesn't have a smile on your face. And you know what? You have to take care. There is another supermarket 3 villages down there, and the personal is very friendly. And you have actually to take care to keep your buyers and to keep your people here, because a lot of people are not very contented with the way your personal is acting. And I was there, I said, what did I just say? And he said, it's really, nobody is smiling, nobody is friendly, so what are you going to do about the situation? And he looked at me and said, I know. And then it was like, I would have never said that weeks ago, not even to the shop manager, just being there, putting stuff in the shelves. So,
and
I'm more outspeaking.
Feel when that came out?
Well, actually, I was very proud of me. I'm proud of myself, So, just
that was who you really are.
Speaking out things. Yeah. So speaking out things that I wouldn't have said years ago. Because you're getting in trouble if you say that. And he said, well, I do know, and his personal knows, but they don't do anything about it, So it's like, well, you better take care. When you reopen, I don't know whether so many people are still coming to your supermarket. Yeah. So I learned to speak out things I would have never dared years ago.
So let me see.
Not to cause people trouble or not to cause me any trouble.
Yeah, so you didn't see this experience as fearful.
Mm.
Let me just go back to the accountability. What happened was, in the past, you would have been fearful to say anything. You would have projected onto that scene a place that wasn't open to you, that wasn't. And what shifted was in your mind is, there's a space for me to express myself here. So the accountability is actually the way you saw the situation, from being a fearful place where you couldn't talk, to a place where you found yourself actually sharing something meaningful. See, the accountability is the way you saw this is different. Your mind created a different situation than it did the week before. This is the key in this accountability thing. It's like what I am seeing and the way I am seeing it is the mirroring of what's going on inside my mind. There's nothing outside actually that needs to be changed. It was perfect. You got a chance to see that there was a receptive manager there that you could speak to that day. So what we're seeing about your mind is that your mind has changed. It has opened. It has allowed Gabriella to come out and express herself. So the old tape, the ego that was hiding you and pushing you down and making you just to be limited and boxed in, there is a space now that opened up. So we see, you couldn't have done that if you'd seen it the same way that you did the week before. You are the one that's accountable for this shift. You'll get this as we work with this more and more. But I just felt I could go ahead and go into that with you a little bit. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else wants to jump on?
I'll share. I will.
Great.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. I relate to everything everybody's been saying and to all the different teachings. I think one of the things that's sticking out to me is that it's self-attack, the self-hatred projected outwards. I can feel that. That's very much how I experienced it, I guess I would say. And the taking accountability for me is, while it's really difficult, for me that's very empowering. And it's kind of, I guess maybe a paradox, like taking accountability, but I also find I haven't been using necessarily the language of Holy Spirit, but when I remember, I offer it up, the situation or my mind or whatever's happening. And immediately, usually, there's a shift. If nothing else, there's just a lessening of the tightening. There's a softening where, like, that I'm not having to do it so much. I think I just, I relax a little bit. And, anyways, the handing it over to me is just one of the most profound practices that really works all the time for me. And that's real. I don't necessarily have a particular situation.
Why you said if you would go into what, because it would help us all, is talk a little bit about what's hard about being accountable.
Well, I mean, to go all the way and really, I can't blame anybody. I mean, even like people in my life, but even just like the little things of like driving and being impatient, being accountable. It's difficult because of my habits and my not wanting to. Sometimes there's almost like a laziness, like there's maybe an intellectual knowing, I know that I'm doing this, but like, really, I just want to I want to be upset or frustrated or annoyed or whatever. there's an addictive part of it.
There's juice. There's juice in that ego, isn't there?
Yeah.
The addiction, there's a juiciness about not being accountable and playing with it a little bit.
Yeah, the drama.
Yeah, the drama.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's difficult because I'm ignorant. Yeah. But it's good. I mean, overall, it's very empowering. But
So what's empowering about it?
I guess by empowering, what I mean is like something can be done.
It's not hopeless.
Right. It's
And
not
you're-
just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not just the way things are. I mean, it is the way things are, but it can change.
My mind can change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually earlier today, I was with a group of people, and just briefly we touched upon this idea of like how my experience, especially experience of suffering, ultimately the mind is the cause. And there was some resistance, and I understand that resistance, but so I have both parts of me, like it feels empowering, but also like I think myself and others can sometimes hear it as almost like blame or guilt.
Another attack.
Right. Another way of like, oh, I'm doing this, rather than the flip of it being like, my mind is doing this, so that means I can do something about it. But so I understand that perspective, but it's not empowering to me.
That's beautiful. So the basic thought here is I'm innocent. And when we see it happened in our childhood, we feel that innocence, but I can't judge myself for what's going on, because in truth, I'm innocent. I'm completely innocent here. And the reason I'm innocent is because my true self is God. And God doesn't do stuff like this. That has to be the ego. God doesn't mess up like this. And this is the thing. I am God. I'm not that false self that's doing this stuff. So we back up one more step and go, oh, I can't be responsible for, I can't be guilty here. I may have made an error. There may be an error here in my thinking, but as far as guilt or sin or that's an impossibility. It can't possibly be. So there can be no attack. I'm guiltless. I'm completely innocent. And this was simply an error in the mind where because of conditioning, I chose the wrong thinking in this situation. And like you said, now something can be done about it. Now that I'm no longer throwing it outside of me and splitting and saying it's over there, it's on that person. Now that I bring it back and say, I don't understand this, but somehow my mind, my thinking mind has created this, then there's power, is what you're saying. There's an opportunity for healing, for transformation. And I like that you said, there's resistance to taking this on, because the ego is being annihilated here. The ego is losing ground every time we do this process. It's weakening that tie with the split mind, the mind of suffering. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Any more?
Not right now.
Okay. Regina, you're smiling like you might share. Whoop, 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 whoop.
My experience lately, I think for the first step, with the first step, the willingness and to really, I say yes, I said yes, and my experience is that so many things are really changing, I had also my different kind of childhood, and I was blaming my parents and things like that, but that's not there anymore. That's really getting very as I can see that I created that. So it's changing, and how would I say? It's there is not in my daily day or so. There is not much. There's no blaming anymore, or seeing these old things. They are not really present anymore. I was hiding all my life and not speaking up, not talking, and so it feels like I get much clearer in my conversations, or in I feel guided. I feel so much guided. Sometimes I feel it's not me even who's talking or so.
Who is it? Who's talking?
Hmm?
It is you finally that's talking.
Yeah, but it's but it's I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's
you're shifting. Let me help you here. You're shifting your identity. You used to feel like you were this false self. You were 100% identified with this small Regina that was confused and hiding and didn't. And now you're shifting into your true self, the divine self, and that's beginning to speak. Mm-hmm. But it's really a big step.
Yeah, and if my mind comes in, I mean, it's unbelievable. But it's I really can feel it inside. It's it's just a big. For me, it's a very, very big change, and it just feels. I don't have the words, but I just feel it every day. That's what I can say.
Your divine self is being unveiled.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can't say this. It's like the ego is, the veils are falling off of you, and you're watching this week after week. It's like this experience of whoever she was before. It ain't who she is now. She's coming forth with a whole new authority. I mean, it's like when Regina, and there was a period of time where we thought it was channeling, but it's not channeling. This is who Regina, this is who we all really are. The divine self that's always been hidden is now coming forth. And this is what the awakening is. It is the freeing up of what has always been perfectly present in all of us.
Yeah, and it's like in the morning, waking up, there is so much joy. I don't know why or what, but I feel it feels just. So that's just the first step or the first key principle. Really, the willingness, and really say yes. There is nothing else I want right now, or I want really, and it's not much to do. It's really shifting. That's easy. What I just wanted to share.
Easy. Yeah. Gabriella, jump in.
It's like last week I was visiting Regina, and she sat opposite to me, and she was just She was like beaming. She was really bright. She had that smile on her face. You know, her eyes were they were just showing joy. You know, and this was really catchy. She was just sitting there, and she was like, you know, it's like I sat there and said, yeah, it's catching. You know, so she was sitting there just, that her eyes were sparkling. She was smiling. So this was really something. And I can experience that too. She's completely different than 2 years ago.
Would you say love was beaming out of her? And
Yeah, sparkling. She was beaming, yeah.
Peaceful? And she
Yeah.
was looking strong? And she
Yeah.
was healthy and she was being gentle?
Sure.
Sounds like it's.
And and she's sitting opposite of you and said, "Yeah, that's that's the way I want to be." She was just like, yeah.
So this is Regina's. Regina's what is reporting being in a holy relationship with herself now. That's the shift. That's what we're talking about. Moving from self-hatred to the holy relationship. Moving from the special relationship of needing something from the outside, and all of a sudden she's radiating these properties that belong to a divine being now. Maybe not every second, but this is what's breaking forth.
Well, but at that afternoon she was definitely.
Yeah. I'm unmuting everybody. We have a few minutes left. I can't decide whether we should join or whether we should just keep talking.
Joining.
Hmm?
I think joining would be fine at the end. As I don't know, that's just my.
Let me see if there's anybody else that has one more thing to say, and then we'll join. Okay. So let's go back into the one mind. Just close your eyes and bring yourself completely into this Christ presence. Into our true nature, into our divine, radiant self, which is only one self here. We are all one God being radiating forth right now. Thank you. Thank us all for such beautiful I need to say I'm blown away by the readiness and the willingness of all of us. It's pretty amazing, and the power of our joining is awesome. So I'm filled with gratitude. And so much love for all of you. Next week, Regina and I will be sitting in front of the same computer.
Yeah.
Broadcasting live here from Abiquiu, New Mexico. So we know that there will be a beautiful journey full of miracles for you as you get on the plane and come.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I see ahead of me us all gathering together somehow, and the woman that owns this house wants to sell the whole property. So I asked if it was possible to rent to buy, and I don't know how many acres are here, but there's another casita, and it's a cute place, and it's the first time I ever thought of, a possibility of, really having fun together and personal time together. So who knows where we'll go? But big things are opening up also with the TTC group, and we're going global on August 5th. And you will all be part of that. I'll be telling you more about this.
Let's go for a visit to Germany.
There you go. Well, I'm sure we will do that.
You're welcome. Anytime, Anna.
So, Erna, whenever you want to come, there's always room for everyone.
Thank you. I was thinking the whole group, go over there. Or you're already there.
So Wyatt, I just want to say
the whole group has to stay somewhere.
Oh yeah, Ashley made this room look nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll see you all next week. And so you all have that handout. And just don't go any further than the willingness and the accountability. And if you don't understand it, just ask the Holy Spirit to help you. The Holy Spirit is your connection with your divine self. It's the Spirit in you, So this isn't something outside of you that's magical. This is your own inner spirit connecting with your divine. It's like the bridge between the ego self and the divine self. So I don't want you to think this is any kind of woohoo stuff. It's all set up and we're just using what's already here. So bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Let you know that I'm not here next week because I'm on the biking with my group. So
Okay.
I think I have no change to be with.
Okay.
But I be with you in the love connection.
Yeah, and we'll send you the video. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Joanne.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.